Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Before we begin with the tafsir of Surah Al-Layl, we will do the parallels between Surah Al-Shams and Surah Al-Layl. Now the purpose of this is to appreciate the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And while doing this, you see something that you've never seen of before in your life. And you understand the cohesion of the surahs, the way that they are placed in the Quran. This is not by coincidence that these surahs are placed the way they are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed the order in the Quran the way it is in the Quran now. How do we know this? The Quran, although the way it was revealed, the order, it's different now in the Mus'haf. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ, what happened was just before he passed away, he told the Sahabas which ayah to place in which surah and also the order of each surah, the surahs. So before he passed away, he placed the Quran in the order that we have now. So if Surah Shams comes before Surah Al-Layl, that's the way the Prophet ﷺ arranged it. And anything that the Prophet ﷺ said regarding the deen, we know that it is wahi. It was revelation from Allah. So the arrangement of the Quran is wahi from Allah. The other thing that proves that the arrangement of the Quran is wahi from Allah, besides the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, is that you will see how each surah is connected to the one before and after it, and how parallels are drawn from them, and you will understand with certainty that no one can do this except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now coming to the parallels between Surah Al-Shams and Surah Al-Layl, beginning with the first one, in Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right in the beginning, He mentions, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. The day is mentioned first. In Surah Al-Layl, the sequence is reversed. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. The night is mentioned first and then the day. Regarding why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began Surah Al-Layl by mentioning the night first, the ulama, they say that Surah Al-Layl is an early Makkan surah, revealed in the early stages to the Prophet ﷺ. Actually, it's the sixth surah in order of revelation. It was the time when kufr was still manifest and widespread. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began with Layl because it best describes the current situation of Makkah. Makkah at that time, it was still in darkness. It was immersed in kufr and shirk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began with Surah Al-Layl, expressing the current situation around in Makkah. However, Surah Al-Shams came way later, much after Surah Al-Layl, at a time when Islam was on the uprise. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He began Surah Shams with the mention of the sun, almost giving the indication that Islam is now become like the sun in the middle of the day, spreading far and wide. The second parallel, it's interesting and it's from the grammatical syntax point of view. In the previous surah, Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. There is an attached pronoun, the ha at the end, whereas there is no attached pronoun in Surah Al-Layl. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. The ha was referring to the sun. So Surah Al-Layl almost forces you to go back to Surah Al-Shams, making that your reference point to understand Surah Al-Layl. So subhanallah, this is the connection. The third parallel, in both surahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the past tense for the day, tajalla and jallaha. While for the night, He uses the present tense, yaghsha and yaghshaha. Now in the Arabic language, one of the benefits of the present tense is that it can be used for something incomplete or for partiality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the present tense for the night because that's the nature of the layl. The layl, the night, it doesn't happen all in one go. It happens in stages, starting just before Maghrib, and it slowly keeps creeping in stage after stage after stage until it turns completely dark. Yet it's never completely dark. You can still see things. So although the darkness does come, it's never complete darkness. It's incomplete darkness, right? Because why? وَالْخَمْرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا. There's still the remnants of the sun, and that is the moon itself, which reflects the light of the sun of itself. Now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the past tense for the day, one of the implications of the past tense is that it is used for a complete act. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used this for the day because when the day comes in, all of a sudden, everything is lit up. It doesn't come in stages. And the day and the night here, it's an actual reference to Iman and Kufr. When a person is a kafir, think of him as being the night. And when he commits himself to Iman, it's like him going from night to day. How quick is the process from night to day? It's quick, right? The moment the sun comes out, it's already bright. So when someone is in deep kufr, he's like in the middle of the night and he's exposed. And when he's exposed to Iman in Islam and he commits to it, then it's immediate that the Iman comes to him and it's quickly bright. But the reverse process from Iman to Kufr, that's not a quick process. It's something that goes stage by stage. And even when the person goes from Iman to Kufr, there's still some light left in him, some Iman in him, and that is the light of Fitra. And after a night, there's always the day. So he still has a chance of returning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as long as he's alive. The next parallel, the fourth one, in the previous surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he spoke about the sky and its architecture, and the earth and its expanse. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا. But here in contrast, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions how remarkable the creation of the male and the female is. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. There are actually many parallels between the sky and the earth as a contrast, and the male and the female as a contrast. As just like the male and the female, two contradictory entities work together, so do the sky and the earth work together for a greater purpose. The sky works with the day to produce vegetation, as the earth could not produce what it does without water coming from the sky. So the earth gets impregnated with plants just like the female gets impregnated by the male. And the seed in the ground, some will grow and benefit humanity, and others they just wither away. The fifth parallel, the previous surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned different aspects of the process of creation, and he used words such as banaha when referring to the sky, that he made it, and tahaha when he spoke about the earth, that he spread it out. Here now in Surah Al-Layl, however, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the more comprehensive word of khalaqa, which is applicable to all the different types of creation and which sums up what the previous surah was illustrating. Banaha is of Allah's creation. Tahaha is also from Allah's creation. What's the word that sums up all this? Khalaqa. So this surah used the comprehensive word, while in Surah Al-Shams it was in detail as to what type of khalaq he made. Then the sixth parallel, Surah Al-Shams, most of it came in third person. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And he inspired it with the discernment of its wickedness and its righteousness. قَدْ أَفْلَهَا مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. He has succeeded who purifies it. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And he has failed who instills it with corruption. In Surah Al-Layl there is a switch, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he speaks in second person. فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى. So I have warned you of a fire which is blazing. Surah Shams had the universal lessons put across in third person, but now we are learning that they are not just there for you to think about in theory. These lessons apply to you directly. That's why the switch. So it goes from being general to exactly specifying you in speech. The seventh parallel in Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he taught us about this incredible balanced creation of this nafs, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala programmed it to recognize what is evil and what is good. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. In Surah Al-Layl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى, which means that all your efforts are all over the place. Meaning that everyone is doing whatever they want. Some are doing good, some are doing bad. Although we all know what's good and what's bad, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already taught each and every single one of us. The thing is that we don't find everyone doing the same thing. While some are doing good, some others are lying and cheating and doing all sorts of other evils. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the reality in Surah Al-Layl, that despite the ability to recognize the good and recognize the evil, not every soul is the same. The eighth parallel, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Shams, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Now where is all this happening? On the inside, right? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired the nafs inside of it to recognize the good and the bad. قَدْ أَفْلَهَا مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. That the one who cleanses himself, the one who purifies himself, he is successful. Now where does this happen? Again on the inside. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And if you disregard the nafs, where's that? Again, that's on the inside. So basically, Surah Al-Shams was speaking about the inside of man. However, in Surah Al-Layl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. Where are the efforts, inside or outside? Your actions are from the outside. So Surah Al-Shams spoke about the inside of us, and Surah Al-Layl, it speaks about the outward attitude of the human being and what comes out from the outside. The ninth parallel, Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قَدْ أَفْلَهَا مَنْ تَزَكَّى. The one who was able to cleanse himself, literally, he is the one who has actually attained success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left this as a declaration, as a fact over there. But the how to cleanse yourself was not mentioned. So the how is the question that remained. So now Surah Al-Layl came to explain to us the how. So Allah says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْتَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى. As for the one who gave in Allah's cause and he was fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he believed in Al-Husna, which is the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So Surah Al-Shams told us that the one who tries to cleanse himself attains success. How? Read on in Surah Al-Layl. The successful one is for amma man a'ta wattaqa wasaddaqa bil husna. In Surah Al-Shams, again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the other side as well. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. The one who disregards his nafs is a failure. And how? That wasn't mentioned in Surah Al-Shams. It's mentioned in Surah Al-Layl. وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى فَكَذَّبَ وَحُسْنَى. As for the one who withheld, the one who is stingy and tight with everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to give, and wastaghna, and he had this carefree attitude that I don't need anyone, just like the Thamud in the previous surah. They didn't care about anyone and they committed all sorts of crimes. وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and he disbelieved in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If you do these three, then قَدْ خَابَ, you have failed and disregarded the nafs. The 10th parallel, in the previous surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, كَذَّبَتْ ثَمُودُ بِتَغْوَاهَا. Thamud lied. Why? Because of their rebellion against the messenger. Now in this surah, Surah Al-Layl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us the real problem of tughyan. Why did people rebel? So He mentions this in this surah. Istaghna. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us that the root problem of rebelling against Allah is money, is being stingy. When you are able to amass a lot of wealth, you begin to develop the attitude that I don't need anyone. Think, that you're earning a salary, say of rupees 1 lakh a month, and your boss is giving you this like every month, a 1 lakh check. So you are always obedient and subservient to your boss because you rely on his happiness and goodwill to retain that job and that salary. But then, what if you suddenly, say, win a jackpot? Maybe through some halal means you got a crore, some investment you had made or something, it just grew and you just got a lot of money. Then what happens? Then bit by bit you wouldn't care about your boss anymore because you have enough money, you have enough wealth. So you tend to build this carefree attitude inside of you that, I don't need anyone, I'm self-sufficient. And this is the problem that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making known to us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Alaq, كَلَّا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى أَن رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. No doubt about it that the human being, he rebels when he sees himself rich and he doesn't need anyone. That's the time he will rebel. So the word tughyan is mentioned there and the word istaghna is mentioned here to teach you that, they just didn't rebel just like that. There was a problem. There was a root cause of this rebellion. You want to find out the root cause of this tughyan? Then read on in Surah Al-Layl. And that's where it's explained. Man bakhila wastaghna. And how this attitude builds inside of one when he has a lot of wealth and what it does to him, to the fact that, he's able to turn away from Allah's command and rebel against Him. He doesn't need anyone basically. Moving on to the 11th parallel. In Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَأَقَرُوهَا. The nation of Samud. What was the two crimes they committed? Firstly, they lied against their messenger. And the second crime they committed was that they violated the miracle that Allah had sent to them, the she-camel. In this surah, in Surah Al-Layl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the Quraysh. This is an early Makkan surah, and here the Quraysh had the same two problems. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, الَّذِي كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. الَّذِي كَذَّبَ, the one who lied. And the Quraysh, they lied against the truth, just like the people of Samud lied against Saleh. And they also watawalla. In Surah Al-Shams, akharuha. And in Surah Al-Layl, tawalla. Now the miracle for the people of Samud was the she-camel. And the miracle for the people of Quraysh, it was the Quran. So, alladhi kazzaba watawalla, they also committed the two crimes. They lied. And what else did they do? They turned away from the miracle which Allah sent to them. So two similar crimes there and here. In the 12th parallel, we learn that in Surah Al-Shams, Allah's demand from the people was, stay away from the camel. Naqatallahi wa suqyaha. Do not attack it and do not come near it. And In the case of the Quran, which is in Surah Al-Layl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't tell the Quraysh to stay away from the Quran. He tells them to come towards the Quran. But what did they do? They did exactly the opposite to it. So in Surah Al-Shams, their Prophet told them, stay away from this camel. And in Surah Al-Layl, they are being told to come close to the Quran. And what are they doing? They are doing just the opposite. They are staying away from the Quran. So both Prophets' commands were disobeyed. In the 13th parallel, we learn that in Surah Al-Shams, Saleh alayhi salam, he said to his people, Naqatallahi, watch out, stay away from the camel of Allah. And that was a warning that, don't come near its place of drink. Now in Surah Al-Layl, we see a warning here too. But this warning, it's not a warning coming from a prophet. It's a warning that supersedes that. A warning coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى, I warn you of a blazing fire. Coming to the 14th parallel, in Surah Al-Shams, we heard the word ashqa, ism ba'sa ashqaha, that the most wretched from the people of Samud, he got up and went all by himself with his group of supporters and killed the she-camel. Now in Surah Al-Layl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us about the one who is described as an ashqa. What does he get on the day of judgment? فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى لَا يَصْلَاهَا إِلَّا الْأَشْقَى. So I have warned you of a blazing fire, and none will enter to burn therein except the ashqa, the most wretched one. So we read about the ashqa in Surah Al-Shams and we learn about his punishment here. In the 15th parallel, in the previous surah, Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned to us the consequence of the action of the ashqa in this dunya. فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ. Because they rebelled and they killed the she-camel and they turned away from the messenger and they denied him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them in this life. How did He destroy them? He flattened them, He pounded them. So that was the punishment in the dunya for the ashqa. And the punishment in the hereafter, that is mentioned in Surah Al-Layl. فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى. So Surah Al-Shams mentions a dunya punishment and Surah Al-Layl mentions the punishment in the akhirah. Finally, the 16th and the last parallel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He concludes Surah Al-Shams by saying, وَلَا يَقَافُ أُقْبَاهَا, and he does not fear the consequence thereof. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attitude against the evil, against the corrupt. No matter what you threaten Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with, He doesn't fear the consequences of it. He does what He wants and He doesn't fear that someone else will retaliate and do something similar to what He did, because that cannot happen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attitude towards the wretched is in the previous surah. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions His attitude towards the righteous. So He ends it off by saying, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, meaning that this person will be extremely happy. He will be extremely pleased with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him. In the previous surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala qualified His punishment. How did Allah punish the people of Samud? فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ وَسَوَّاهَا. In other words, He pounded them, and then He flattened them. So that specific punishment was described. But in this surah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, that person will be pleased, He didn't mention what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him. That will make this person pleased. That wasn't qualified. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just said, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, He will be pleased, meaning He will give him so much on the day of judgment that this person, he will be pleased. And He doesn't even mention what it is, as opposed to the previous surah when He spoke about the punishment. Regarding the punishment, He said exactly what the punishment was, and that was sufficient. But in this surah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is unlimited, so He cannot qualify and put something. So He said, وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. We stop with this for now. Inshallah, in the next session, we will do the tafsir of Surah Al-Layl. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.